Welcome to Chasing Baseball's Immortals, where I explore the career of a 20th century Hall of Famer while collecting one of their original playing days cards. Today I'm taking a closer look at Mel Ott, the disciplined left-hand slugger who became the offensive heartbeat of the New York Giants and one of the most efficient hitters the National League has ever witnessed. I also trace his remarkable blend of patience, power, and consistency while highlighting his 1933 Goudey number 127 portrait, a clean, iconic early issue that captures Ott just as he was emerging as one of baseball's great young stars. Mel Ott was born March 2, 1909 in Gretna, Louisiana, a small community just outside New Orleans. From an early age, he stood out not because of his size or strength, but because of an unusually quick bat and a distinctive high leg kick that coaches couldn't quite explain, but never tried to change. That motion, all timing and leverage, would become one of the most recognizable swings in baseball history. Ott joined the Giants as a teenager, signing at just 17, and reaching a major league lineup by 19. Once he arrived, he never looked overmatched. Throughout the 30s and 40s, he evolved into the steady engine of the Giants' offense, a hitter who combined patience, strike zone awareness, and surprising power at a time when most players still relied on contact and placement. His rise coincided with one of the Giants' most competitive stretches. Ott played a central role in the club's 1933 World Series championship, and he helped guide them to several more pennants. Fans at the Polo Grounds admired him not for his theatrics, but for reliability. Year after year, he delivered elite production with a calm, understated presence. As his career progressed, Ott's accomplishments began to stand apart from his era. He ultimately finished with 511 home runs, becoming the first National League player to surpass the 500 home run mark, a milestone that stood unmatched until Willie Mays came along decades later. His blend of discipline and power helped usher baseball from small ball mindset of the early 1900s into a more modern offensive style. After retiring as a player, Ott managed the Giants and later moved into broadcasting, where his thoughtful, even-tempered approach made him a respected voice. His life was cut short in 1958 following an automobile accident, but his legacy had already been secured. Elected to the Hall of Fame in 1951, he remains one of the National League's most influential hitters, a quiet superstar whose consistency, innovation, and unmistakable swing left a lasting imprint on the game. When you compare Mel Ott to players across baseball history, a clear lineage emerges, one that connects his blend of patience, power, and right field consistency to stars in later generations. Ott was one of the earliest masters of the modern offensive profile, a left-handed hitter who paired disciplined strike zone control with effortless, repeated power. His 304 average, 414 on-base percentage, and more than 500 home runs weren't the product of a single skill, but the balance of all of them working together. A generation later, Al Kaline carried the same blueprint into the post-war era. Like Ott, Kaline was a right fielder who didn't rely on brute strength. Instead, he built value through precision, a high average, a strong on-base game, and power that showed up through consistency rather than streaks. Their careers share the same shape, long primes, elite WAR totals, and an offensive style defined by discipline and efficiency rather than raw explosiveness. And in the modern game, Larry Walker becomes the closest successor to that tradition. Walker's combination of average, on-base skill, and left-handed power mirrors Ott more closely than any right fielder of the last 50 years. He added athleticism and defense, but the core of his value came from the same place: selective aggression, line drive lift, and the ability to control at-bats rather than chase them. Across eras, Ott, Kaline, and Walker form a rare thread, right fielders whose greatness came from not overwhelming force, but from mastering the art of efficient, intelligent hitting. The 1933 Goudey set stands as one of the defining releases of the early gum card era, a moment when baseball cards shifted from simple black and white photos to bold, colorful artwork that captured the imagination of a new generation of collectors. Issued during the depths of the Great Depression, the set offered something rare for the time: a full, modern-feeling checklist with vivid portraits, clean back design, and a wide range of stars throughout the league. Across its 240 cards, Goudey blended bright, painted illustrations with a level of player coverage that it hadn't seen before. 4 different Babe Ruth cards, 2 Lou Gehrig cards, and a deep roster of Hall of Famers helped cement the set as a cornerstone of 30s collecting. Even today, its mix of artistry, scarcity, and historical weight makes it one of the most recognizable pre-war issues ever produced. And of course, no discussion of the 33 set is complete without mentioning its most notable anomaly, the missing card 106. The card was omitted from the original print run and did not appear in any packs. Goudey chose Napoleon Lajoie to be card 106 and mailed it directly to collectors in 34 in response to complaints from those unable to complete their sets. This unusual distribution made the Lajoie card one of the earliest true chase cards in the hobby, a status it still holds today. Beyond the headliners, the set also introduced a new wave of talent to the hobby. The 33 checklist includes several important rookies, highlighted by Dizzy Dean, Lefty Grove, and Jimmy Fox, players whose career helped define the baseball landscape of the 30s. Their inclusion gives the set a strong mix of established legends and emerging stars, a balance that keeps collectors returning to it generation after generation. And among those rising stars, few cards stand out more than Mel Ott's number 127 portrait. Ott was only in his early 20s when this card was printed, yet he was already one of the most feared left-handed hitters in the National League. The portrait captures him with a clean, youthful look, a calm expression, and the unmistakable confidence of a player who already understood the strike zone better than almost anyone in the game. For collectors, the typical market for a PSA 4 is $1,600, a PSA 3 $1,000, and a PSA 2 $750. All right, now let's look at the card. Here's my example of the 33 Goudey Mel Ott. I got this maybe 8 to 10 months ago on Facebook. I contacted the seller and we worked out a trade. This was always one of my favorite Goudey cards, and I think Mel Ott's a underrated player as it is. So I found this to be a value for what it is. I was looking for one that was nicely centered on this card that presented really well. This one has sharp corners, nicely centered, no creasing. The back presents really well. No staining. Everything's very legible. And this one is a SGC 5. And this is one that'll stay in my collection. I really enjoy having this card, and I prefer this one over his batting pose in the 33 Goudey set. So this will complete my Mel Ott run. Now let's check out a few of Mel Ott's more interesting and collector relevant cards. Ott's card catalog is one of the most focused and coherent of any pre-war Hall of Famer. His issues follow the arc of his career with unusual clarity, early emergence, rapid rise, and long-term excellence. Rather than a sprawling checklist, Ott's run is anchored by a handful of key releases that capture him at distinct stages of his career. Ott's earliest appearance comes in the 1929 cash-in set, an oversized photographic issue that predates the gum card boom of the 30s. The portrait shows Ott as a young star at just 20 years old, already displaying the calm, composed presence that made him such a difficult out. The cash-in card feels more like a studio photograph than a traditional baseball card, giving collectors a rare look at Ott before his prime, a true starting point for anyone building his planned days run. Next, the 1935 Diamond Stars. As Ott entered the heart of his career, this card becomes the defining image of his peak. National Chickle's Art Deco design, bold colors, and geometric backgrounds make the set one of the most visually distinctive of the decade. Ott's card captures him at the height of his influence as the offensive anchor of the New York Giants. For many collectors, this is the most iconic Ott card in the pre-war era. And then the 1939 Play Ball. By the time Ott appeared in this issue, he was no longer the young phenom. He is a fully established veteran with more than a decade of elite production behind him. Play Ball's clean black and white photography and modern layout give the card a timeless feel. Ott's portrait is a confident and straightforward look, reflecting a player who had already built his Hall of Fame resume. Beyond these three cornerstone issues, Ott appears across a tight but visually rich run of pre-war sets. Taken together, the rest of his cards create a clear, visual timeline of his entire career, a steady, consistent portrait of one of the National League's most reliable and enduring hitters. On deck, I'll be taking a closer look at Tom Seaver, the poised young right-hander who arrived in New York with uncommon command, competitive fire, and the foundation of a Hall of Fame career. I'll also break down his 1967 Topps rookie card, a high number issue that captures Tom Terrific at the beginning of his rise as a Mets legend. See you then.